Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So this week's featured decks are going to be two of the most heavily played meta decks in the format that we haven't covered already. They are a little more straightforward than most decks, and so I just kind of want to blaze through them a little quicker than most, but I do want to explain all of my choices and why I did go about them. So definitely stay tuned and pay attention. Also, if you just want to skip to the end, you can do that. I'll zoom out and you can just see a big overall arcing display of the deck. But if you want anything explained, go and watch the video rather than just blasting me in the comments for doing something if you haven't watched it first, please. Also, September's memory marker is Digimon. This is our working prototype here. No paint on the face yet for the eyes, but wow, this thing is looking good. This is, I mean, Yaomon was pretty awesome, but I am really liking this one. This is definitely one of my favorites. I absolutely cannot wait to play with this little guy. This is perfect. So this is for the month of September. If you want to get one of these, make sure you join our Patreon. The link is in the description below. So jumping right in here, first up is our egg. Of course, we've got Digimon because we needed a red egg, and might as well be the our featured Digimon for the month. So you need a red egg because you need to be able to use your red options. Security control is all about having things hit in security and just devastate your opponent with it, or just hard playing them. If you need to hard play any of your red options, you need to have something red on field already, either a tamer or a red egg. Red egg is really the easiest way to go about this. Red is probably our most played option of all the different types of options we play in this deck. We have more copies of red than we do anything else, so that is why red is the go-to baby for security control. In case you're ever wondering why it's that and not something else, it's because red has the most options for clearing things off the field. So, and we don't really like a lot of the Digimon that you're playing that you have to hard play with when it comes to red. So, Digimon is going to be our go-to here for our egg. Next up, I've got the 3 Lucymon in here just because it's solid. It's not very good early game, so I tend to keep the copies down on it. However, there is something we can come back to and look at this in just a little bit, but why I play more copies than others, right? And we'll touch back on that in just a second. Next up, we got Magna-Angemon, who is this is like the go-to starter. If you're playing security control, your opening play ideally is always Magna-Angemon. I mean, that's pretty much it. Turn 1, you know, even if you're player 2, Magna-Angemon is definitely the way to go. Just instant recovery, no stipulation here. You just get to immediately hard play it. 7 cost is pretty standard for this deck. It is what it is. So nice recovery there. Next up, Mistymon. So Mistymon kind of comes in and out of popularity and security control of how many copies you want to play of it, if at all. Right now, I would say it's probably a must. Yellow-green Rookie Rush is getting to the point where it's overtaking Lord Nightmon as the most popular or most played deck in the BT5 format. So introducing more copies into security control makes sense. You need some sort of level 5s that are yellow. Mistymon definitely fits the bill here. So on play, 2 of your opponent's Digimon get minus 3,000 DP for the turn. This isn't going to affect things like the 5,000 DP rookies, right? But where it's going to come into play is stuff like Pulsemon, right? Or Bushi Agumon, anything like that. Lopmon for when they're trying to get the draws, that sort of thing. Those cards are played, okay, and they really like to hard play them and not just keep them in raising area or anything like that. They like to hard play them. So Mistymon is really good for clearing off a vast majority of Rookie Rush. And we're looking at countering most of the decks that are being played in meta. So that's when you usually are going to be playing security control, is when you're going against other meta decks. And looking at Lord Nightmon as well as Rookie Rush as our opponents, Mistymon really comes in handy against those decks, both of them, because Lord Nightmon likes to play free rookies from hand as well. So Mistymon coming in clutch against those decks. Next up is going to be our yellow megas here. First up, we got Seraphimon. I've got it as a 3 of here. I don't want to get too many copies of this because you do need to digivolve it, right? You need to be able to digivolve it to get that recovery 1. So we've only got so many level 5s here. I've got the 7 count here. So the 3 count of this feels pretty solid. 4 of, you're going to start drawing into more copies of Seraphimon than you can digivolve into or on top of your level 5s. So I like to keep it a little low for this just because it does require a little bit of setup to get the digivolve off. Also, just your turn, while you have 3 or more security cards, this Digimon gains security attack +1. I mean, that's pretty solid. Security control doesn't have a whole lot of ways that it can do damage really quickly into security. It's mostly just control your opponent until they just are so resource deprived and they've only got a few cards in hand and nothing else on field. That's when security control likes to go in and start punishing its opponent. And Seraphimon just kind of helps you get there, right? So once you get it on field, you can start just swinging into security and doing some damage. Pretty cool card. Next up, we got Magnadramon. All right, Magnadramon is so important for security control. Very common for you to get down to 3 security, and just being your opponent just can't finish you off, right? They feel like they've got enough set up on field to clear out your security, and then they hit into all these like removal cards, all these option cards that are either clearing their field or something like Holy Wave that's giving you free recovery. They just miss it, okay? They can't quite finish you off, and then that just sets you up for a good Magnadramon play for that recovery too. Also, when attacking, you may play 1 yellow level 3 Digimon card from your hand without paying its memory cost. This comes back to the Lucimon. This is why I play 3 copies instead of 2 Lucimon. 2 Lucimon is typically pretty standard, but 3 copies, just so you can have an extra copy in hand every so often to get to play with the Magnadramon for free, is really, really sick when you can get plays off like that. So with Magnadramon being at a 4 of, absolutely, I don't mind 1 extra copy of Lucimon. I do have the 1 copy of Valderarm here. There's only so many things it can go on top of. We have 7 targets here. You could argue maybe bumping this up to a 2 of. I don't quite agree with it there. This is security control. This isn't Mega Zoo. I like the 1 just in case for whatever crazy situation that may come up that for whatever reason nothing else can handle it. So it is here for those very situational points, but absolutely not even really a necessity. You have enough options in this deck that just take care of big things. I mean, you have enough Gaia Forces and like Transcendent Swords and things like that, that clearing big targets off the field should be manageable, but just in case, he is here just to kind of hold on to in case of emergency. So that's why we got the Valderarm. Next up, Holy Wave. Holy Wave is just a must in yellow security, I think. Just recovery 1 for 6. I mean, that's solid. Also, it activates in security. So kind of compare it to Magnadramon. It's kind of one of those plays that you like. It's just a free recovery, no stipulation, no strings attached. 6 cost instead of the 7. You do need a yellow Digimon on field to be able to play this, but just the fact that it also triggers in security just really, really helps, I think, makes this card so much better. So yeah, we love to have it. It's just a free hit in security that just there's no harm. It basically makes their whole swing completely null and void. So great card for sure. Next up, we're looking at our red lineup here. First up, we got Transcendent Sword, which is kind of like a watered-down version of Gaia Force. It is 1 less play cost, which, it's not that big a deal. You're playing security control. You're used to giving your opponent tons of memory. 1 less isn't too big a deal. Gaia Force is just nice because just delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon. Security, activate this main effect. Awesome. Transcendent Sword, though, delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon with 11,000 DP or less. So that's going to target a big majority of your opponent's megas at least. So Transcendent Sword is still solid because it's going to target and take out what you need anyways. And so it's still a solid card. But also, if you have an Omnimon on field, it's 15,000 DP or less, which is going to start hitting other Omnimons and things like that. We do have Omnimon in the deck, so we can actually trigger that on occasion. Not something you should really rely on. Most of the time, it's going to be just this 11,000 DP, which again is still most of your megas. So all your level 6s and below, he should still be able to kill in most situations. Not all, but most. We do have the one Plasma Strike. This is just kind of, again, where Transcendent Sword falls off. Plasma Stake makes up for. It does activate in security, which is really nice. Main effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 13,000 DP or more. It's a 4 play cost, so that's a lot better than a 8 play cost of Gaia Force. Most of the time when you want to use Gaia Force, it's going to be against Megas, right? You don't want to play Gaia Force and kill a rookie in most situations. I mean, you know, if you're playing Rookie Rush and you're about to die, you got to do what you got to do to live. But Plasma Stake is really nice just to, as that one-of, to draw into and hold until your opponent goes into that Mega. That Lord Nightmon that's just real beefy because of the big wide board they had. You know, Plasma Stake to go ahead and clear it off. Really solid stuff, as well as other Omnimons, Valder Arms, you know, all the different Chaos Mons. You know, Plasma Stake takes care of all those, and they're pretty prominent in the meta, I would say. So you will get use out of Plasma Stake, even as a one-of. It's so situational that you don't want to get cloggy on this. Sitting on 1 in your hand is okay. Sitting on 2 of this card in your hand is not good. It is not good at all. You do not want to be in that situation. Next up, we got Trident Revolver, which is really, really nice for multiple reasons. So delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. For a 6 cost, that does not feel good, right? 6,000 DP or less, that's going to be all your level 4s and below, basically. And for 6 play costs, only getting to clear level 4 is a bit but then you may play one Tamer card with a play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying its memory cost. No color specific on that Tamer either. Any color Tamer you to play. We do play a fair bit amount of Tamers in this deck, so just getting to play those Tamers for free, in addition to clearing something off the field, because typically with security control, you get to play basically 1 card per turn. In most situations, very rarely will you get to do multiple things in 1 turn. So Trident Revolver kind of helps make up for that. You get to clear something off the field as well as play a Tamer, and then use your Tamer effect to do whatever that does. Also, it triggers in security, so it's just a really solid card. I don't like to go completely all out for one word. I don't think we're playing that many Tamers, and 2, I mean, the 6 play cost just to kill a 6,000 DP or less isn't like the best, so you don't want to just continue to spam this card over and over and over. You give your opponent 6 memory or 5 memory, whatever it is, and you only kill like a rookie or a level 4, they're going to use that 5 to 6 memory and then come out with something even better. So you just got to kind of, you know, weigh the cost, the pros and cons. So long as you're playing Tamers and you're getting to hard play those Tamers for free, Trident Revolver I think balances out for sure. All right, next up, we got Zwart Defeat here, which is really solid in this deck, honestly. I really kind of only like Defeat in security control because security control gets to do an insane amount of recovery. It does so much recovery that being able to stick this guy into your security has, you know, a heightened chance. You know, normally at 5 cards out of your deck, the chances of it being a defeat are pretty slim, okay? And if you're playing a deck that doesn't have recovery and you're relying on that, the odds are really against you on that. But in a deck that does as much recovering as this deck does, your chances just are elevated tremendously. So that's why we're going with the defeat as a 4 of here, because, you know, we really want to get this guy recovered into security. So that way when your opponent hits him, he gets to come out onto the field, and he's just a 13k body, which is pretty good. And then also your opponent is scared to death to delete this guy, because then he gets to delete anything of your opponents, any of their Digimon. So yeah, that's pretty solid. I definitely digging Zwart Defeat in this deck. Even if you swing into security and he happens to die in security, you know, you still get to kill something of your opponents. So that's like a win-win kind of, or lose-win. It depends on how you want to look at it. You get a security check and you get to clear something on your opponent's side of the field. You do lose a resource in the process, but I think it's definitely worth it for sure. You can Digivolve this guy in this deck. It is not something you should rely on, but it is something that could come up, and you get to delete a Tamer. Tamers are pretty popular right now in this game, so on the rare occasion that you draw into this and you need to Digivolve him, you can do that. Your target here is going to be Machine Germon. Machine Germon, I have a love-hate relationship with this guy. 12 play cost is pretty steep. He is a blocker, which is pretty important right now. Like, going back to what I said earlier, Rookie Rush is super popular in the meta right now, so being able to put a big, thick blocker on field is pretty important. They're going to be having cards, you know, that are going to remove him, like Spiral Masquerade, but, you know, that takes 4 cards on their field to get that Spiral Masquerade up. So that's a whole lot of turns of them not blocking and building up a board, or them not swinging because you have a big blocker on field, and they got to get into, you know, enough power to kill this guy. So that alone is probably pretty solid, just because that's a lot of, you know, several turns that they're going to have to go through. Granted, if you give them 12 memory, they might be able to do it instantly. But on play, trigger D-Digivolve two of your opponent's Digimon. So that just has like a nice like balance to it. So it gives it more uses. So not just against Rookie Rush, but against other decks as well. Just taking that Lord Nightmon off the field, you know, that's just being a super big nuisance, or a Valder Arm, because you don't want to kill the Valder Arm, because then your opponent's going to get all that free memory, and you don't want to do that. So go Valder Arm, and then whatever Mega was underneath him, both of those are gone, and it's just back down to a little level 5. That's really solid. So Machinedramon definitely has some good value here, and it's onto 2 of your opponent's Digimon. So Digivolve 2 onto 2 targets. So pretty useful all around. And then again, if the blocker part isn't mattering anymore, you can always go into a defeat on top of him. Next up, we've got Ultimate Flare, which is probably one of the most important cards in security control currently. Trigger D-Digivolve 3 on one of your opponent's Digimon, and then delete all of your opponent's play cost of 3 or less. So Rookie Rush murders the crap out of Rookie Rush. Not even just Rookie Rush, though. I mean, you hit this in security with like a Lord Nightmon, D-Digivolve that Lord Nightmon all the way back down to a Rookie, and then whatever Rookie that they might have played off the Lord Nightmon, cleared both of them off the field. Any other rookies they've got sitting out there, just that D-Digivolve 3 first, and then the clear. So in a way, this is kind of like just a Gaia Force. Whatever Mega happens to hit into this guy and gets D-Digivolve 3, and then immediately dies to the second effect. So if you just look at it in that mindset alone, already awesome. He's just another form of Gaia Force for Megas, but with the bonus of clear any other rookies basically off the field. Cheap rookies, okay, so stuff like Bushi is gonna get a slip by, but still such a powerful card. Just Gaia Force with even more abilities. So how amazing is that? So definitely loving Ultimate Flare. To be able to play this card from hand, though, we need black on field, which 1 is Machinedramon, but 2 is going to be Izzy. And Izzy is fire, okay, in this deck. It's not about the fact that he's a memory fixer at all. It is the fact that you get to stack your deck in a deck that likes to put the top card of its deck into its security, okay? So look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then rearrange them in any order and then set them back down. If you go Izzy and then you go into like some sort of recovery card like Magna Angemon, Lucymon, you know, whatever, Holy Wave, whatever card you want that's going to get you recovery is amazing, because Izzy's going to tell you what that next card is going to be, and as long as you remember those 3, you always know when to play that recovery card to put that next card into security. One of the games that I played with security control, my opponent hit into an Izzy, and then I stacked an Ultimate Flare to the top, and then they knew that I was about to draw into Ultimate Flare, and they were playing Rookie Rush, and so they were like, all right, well, might as well just swing with all my rookies, because if not, I'm about to get Ultimate Flare next turn. So he kept swinging, hit into a Holy Wave, and the Holy Wave put that Ultimate Flare into security, and then he immediately hit into the security and revealed the Ultimate Flare and cleared the field. It was super awesome. Unfortunately, I did end up still losing because I think they blinding raid Bushi'd for game afterwards, but it was still just an absolute sick feeling that they hit into an Izzy. Izzy let me stack the deck to make Ultimate Flare my next card, and then hit that recovery to put the Ultimate Flare into security. Just absolutely crazy. Ultimate Flare, you know, even against Rookie Rush, you know, Digivolve those level 4s that they go into back down into rookies. Tons of value. Izzy is amazing. Or if you know you're about to lose on the following turn, you know, you can set like a Magnadramon to the top of your decks to get that recovery too. You know, there's tons of value when it comes to Izzy. Just setting yourself up for good future plays. All right, and the last card in the deck is technically the Tie and Mat here. I'm still on the fence on Tie and Mat, honestly. I like them because the security attack +1 with defeat is, again, one of those cards, one of those combos that just, you need a little bit of offense in this deck. It has tons of removal. If you don't view removal as offense, like Gaia Force don't view that as offense. Whenever I say offense, I mean cards that can actually check security. So getting that security attack +1, you know, is a little bit of a help. Getting some bonus memory, just because you do play a lot of big, thick cost cards. So starting your turn at, you know, 4 or 5 memory, and then playing that 7 cost card, you know, your opponent's only at 2 then because of having the Tie and Mat. So just an easy way to get bonus memory, especially if, you know, you have the Izzy on field already, putting you at 3, and then these guys are going to put you up to 5. They work well together. Next is just, I want to just kind of mention these next two. I have seen them played in other security control decks. TK is, you know, a decent memory fixer for sure, but being able to check your security. You know, you do all this recovering, but you don't have any idea what's in there. So going into TK, looking at your security, just seeing what you have available, so you kind of know, you have an idea of what kind of plays you should make, knowing what your opponent is going to hit into. You know, that's a little bit of knowledge advantage there. In a deck like this in security control, knowing what's exactly in your security is pretty neat. So I think TK is definitely worth mentioning just for that alone. But besides that just added knowledge, I wouldn't say it's necessarily going to give you much else beyond that. I mean, you can take cards out that are yellow, you know, such as like your Magnadramon or your Seraphimon or any of these guys down here. You know, your yellow Digimon aren't going to give you any sort of advantage of getting hit into security unless they're just hitting into a 10k body with something weak, which is not really something you should rely on. Most things are going to swing in with 11k anyway, unless it's Rookie Rush, which they're just planning on dying anyways. But being able to pull these guys out to get their on play effects, you know, so TK can kind of help with that situation. But besides that, you know, you're not going to get that much value out of TK, because if there's no yellow cards in there, you have to take something and you don't get that recovery. It feels real bad. So TK still on the fence about. Next we got X-antibody. And why this guy's in here, typically just out of one of, because he can only Digivolve on top of defeat. So Zwart defeat is still technically an Omnimon. Chaosmon is not, okay? Even though they're similar, Chaosmon is different. But because of X-Antibody's main first effect here, Digimon with Omnimon in its name can Digivolve into this card in your hand for a memory cost of 3, which is pretty cool, ignoring this card's Digivolution requirements, which are, you know, a red level 6 or a blue level 6. But we don't play it just to Digivolve on top of defeat. We play it for all these other effects. When attacking, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP. Some security control players I've listened to, they said that once X-Antibody hits the field against something like Rookie Rush, that's it for them. You know, they kind of just seal the deal. They just start swinging every turn, deleting rookies, right? Because they have to hard play rookies and then pass turn. Not all their rookies are going to have rush. They're not going to be able to just sit in raising area with all the rookies. They will have to hard play rookies. It's just how the game works for that deck. So just swinging every turn and clearing a Digimon for free, really good value. And at 15,000 DP, it is insanely hard for them to get enough on field with you killing one every single turn for them to Spiral Masquerade this guy off the field. So that just alone is just a hard, big counter to Rookie Rush. He is hard to get on field, though. We only have the one copy because you have to rely on getting a defeat on field. And getting a defeat on field outside of security, getting hit in security, or Digivolving onto Machine Dramon is pretty much it. So that's just the one of. He is interesting, though. Also, opponent's turn, when your opponent's Digimon attacks, you may trash 2 of this Digimon's Digivolution cards to end the attack. You're never going to really get this. In that one super rare instance where you go defeat on top of Machine Dramon, and then X-antibody on top of defeat. You get to use this ability maybe once out of, I don't know, what, 20 games this may come up possibly, but that's not really the important part. It's definitely the rest of this up here. So solid card for sure, but again, he's very situational. He's a bit tricky to pull off. He does have a really strong matchup against certain decks, but not every deck, so that's why I didn't include him in the overall strategy. And that right there is going to do it for the deck. If you're curious if you skip to the end and you're just wondering, the TK and the X-antibody are not a part of the original 50 cards. They're more of something you could just work into the deck if it fit your strategy. If you want to see my reasoning for playing them, go back and watch the video if you missed that part. But yeah, this is going to do it for the deck. I definitely think it's a lot of fun. I know Security Control gets a bad rap, but honestly, I've kind of really enjoyed playing it. I've enjoyed playing this more than I have Lord Nightmon, and Lord Nightmon also gets a big like negative rap. It's crazy to think that Rookie Rush gets less hate than two other decks in the meta. That just blows my mind. But all three, even though they're probably the best three in the format, they all three get a lot of hate. I mean, it is what it is. When you're the best, and the reason you're the best is because you have a super cheeky strategy, it tends to garnish a little bit of hate for sure. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would, please like the video and subscribe. Just a little bit of help goes a super long ways. It helps the channel out tremendously, gets my videos out there, gets them seen. And if you really want to support the channel, check out the links in the description below. I'll have a link for my Patreon, which is displayed right here. You can get access to my Discord server that I have, as well as you can get the memory markers that we've had. These are just a few of my favorites from the past that we've had. The current one, Impmon's baby, as well as Gabumon's baby as well, Sunomon and Yaomon. These guys are super adorable. I definitely love them so much. And every month a new one changes out, so make sure you check that out. As well as we have our new playmats. This is why I recreated this video. It's because our playmats are here finally, and they are super cool. I alternate between the black and white every single month for whoever wants to support this tier, as well as I have a tier just higher than that, so that way you don't also have to lose out on a memory marker. You can get both the memory marker and the playmat just in case you want both. Super awesome support from everyone that has supported in the past and who will support in the future. You guys are awesome. Also, if you want to check out my merch, my Teespring link is in the description below for that. We've got, you know, the shirts that I wear on the channel that has the logo across. I love when I see people representing my merch in public. It is like one of the coolest feelings I've ever had in my entire life. Very awesome. As well as phone cases for you people that love Digimon like so much like I do. A friend of mine custom made all these to fit these specific phone cases themselves, so the prices are a little bit higher just because I have to pay her back, as well as make a little tiny bit of profit because of how much unfortunately they take for their cut for Teespring. But like I said, if you can't do any of that, please just like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every time we hit a new mile marker for subscriptions, I give out free merch of all different types. 2000K, I think we're doing one of the playmat giveaways, so definitely be subscribed and ready for when that comes.